Clubhouse.
This is Stef.
This is Paul.
Hey, this is Sheila.
And this is the Yellowstone Podcast coverage for the 13th episode of the 5th season. This one, I am looking at the wrong page, but it is called Give the World Away.
I like to use this word whenever I get a chance to. The penultimate episode.
It is indeed the penultimate episode.
Literally the only time you can use it is in this moment.
You're right. Not the ultimate, the penultimate.
Penultimate.
Okay, gosh.
A lot happened in this longer episode, too.
I did notice that there was a prediction, Stef. You had been predicting the idea of Beth deciding to sell Rip's livelihood, and he mentioned it, kind of word for word in this episode. So that was thrilling.
I saw that.
But a lot else that happened in this episode, well, it didn't quite go the way I imagined this episode. So there were sequences of it, particularly those with Travis / Taylor Sheridan. If you're listening and haven't absorbed that Travis and the show creator are the same person yet, this episode will lock that in.
Right.
For sure.
Yes.
Those sequences left me.
He had a lot of scenes in this episode.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
And they were scenes that made him somehow both a giant asshole, but the best guy in the world at the same time.
But also shirtless. Like, why? Put your shirt on, man. I don't know. It was this.
It was a lot.
Him in all of these scenes was just a lot. It was a lot. I don't know. I don't know if I like him or not, you know?
Oh, Travis?
Yeah. Like, as the character, it's like you said, he's a giant asshole. But he also kind of did something nice. So it's like,
He's like a lovable asshole.
I guess.
If there's such things.
Yeah.
I mean, at once he is a pain to be around, but he's also the guy you want to have your back in a bar fight.
There you go.
He's late to selling a few $1 million horse to people that could just bounce. But instead, he both comes off as the sexiest man on a horse you've ever seen and sells the horse for $1 million more than you thought you were going to get for it.
Yeah.
And he has a pool party with all the bitches in town.
Damn it, he's partying like it's 1989.
Oh, my gosh.
And I mean, gosh, dog. I mean, if you're writing a part for yourself on right?
On Yellowstone.
Right? I mean,
you're
come
like,
on.
I should be shirtless. I should be rich. Right. I should make everyone on my time frame.
Yeah, I should be very popular.
Have a supermodel girlfriend.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you noticed you finally got
her
that
underwear.
The Bella Hadid credit.
There she is.
We thought Sadie was a soccer mom. Nah, dog.
No, she's naked in the pool.
She is the opposite of a soccer mom. She's what the soccer moms used to be.
Oh, gosh.
That's
before
funny.
Before
the soccer.
Before age and maturity and, a mortgage.
Responsibility.
Yeah, they got bogged down by life.
All right, so I've explained my favorite parts.
Okay.
What about you guys?
That's hilarious. Tough to say. I didn't really enjoy how much we saw of the cowboys, but I didn't hate it. Like, some of it was heartfelt and sort of warm and fuzzy or sad, or it gave you all the feels, and some of it was kind of didn't need to be there. For me, I didn't love the scene with Beth and Teeter at the bar. It just didn't add much for me. But I think we had some really good key points with Jamie. We had really good key point with Casey and Beth, and so I'm excited to talk about. I think there's a lot to it, and then some of it that we just kind of didn't necessarily need, but also, I mean, entertaining, I guess.
Where'd you land, Sheila?
Yeah, I kind of landed on the like my initial reaction when the credits started rolling. I'm like, okay, well, everyone who was alive last episode is still alive.
Yeah, at least we're still alive.
So now we know we have all the players for the final episode of this season. I know the prior preview said that this was the season finale, so
That's worth addressing. Yeah. I mean, with what happened in this and what we thought should happen, it seems like there's way more story left than one episode's going to tell.
that's where I'm unfortunately going with this. I don't know if we're going to get it all wrapped up nice and neat, because if they're looking to do another season, there has to be something to season, right? There has to be something
there has to be something else.
I feel like we're going to get a cliffhanger, and God only knows when we're going to get season 6.
Oh, Lord. Another cliffhanger.
I mean, there's a number of cliffhangers, so I like the fact that we've got Linnell coming back. So she's appearing this episode because, she's like the rogue out there for me, her and Clara, and the landmines that, they wanted to start setting. We saw Mo and Rainwater literally for a hot second.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the chessboard getting ready for, whatever the strategy is going to be to win the game. I liked the fact that we saw Christina again, and she is...
We were just wondering if we were going to see her again.
We were.
Yeah, just as condescending with Jamie as he was before. And this episode, much like last episode, a lot didn't happen, but we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to put it.
I say that like a lot doesn't happen in this episode for like what Yellowstone is known for. I think that's really what's happening. I mean, we had an hour and 6 minutes of runtime without commercials this episode. So whatever that looks like on network TV, it's probably like close to an hour and a half, right?
Probably, yeah.
With commercials and everything.
Because a normal hour of TV is like 42, 43 minutes.
Something like that, yeah. So my big prediction for after this episode is that we're probably going to get like a 2-hour episode for the finale. I feel like we're going to have a long one.
If the plot was going to be as simple as tracking down Jamie and killing him, then that would be easy.
Yeah.
But does that sound like what's going to happen anymore? I don't know. I can't commit to that idea. Jamie has all these big plans put in his head by baby mama, Christina. She was only baby mama in my notes because I couldn't remember her name. But then, but then I did.
Well, so she's been gone for like
a long time.
And she's got a good plan, though.
She does.
We can address it when we get to the Jamie section, but her plans can work.
Yeah.
Or at least distract for a very long time. After I saw this episode, I was I'll just reiterate that the idea of wrapping things up and putting a bow on Yellowstone primary in one episode now just feels not doable in a satisfying way. But I'm open. I'm so open to being surprised.
Yeah. Or they could just leave us with a lot of unknowns and just end it,
Man, I didn't want to watch Lost when I was watching Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. How about on our notes, we have Mo and Rainwater up front. I believe they figure prominently into the what do you think comes next part of the story.
I agree. I think we'll see more of them next episode.
In this one, though, they just were back to that same spot next to the reservoir looking at the construction underway, some dastardly looking digging machines belching away smoke into the atmosphere right next to the drinking water, and Rainwater's pissed. I mean, I took his words to mean, let's go steal their shit tonight. Yeah. Let's gather up some of our allies and steal whatever we can steal to try to disrupt things. Was there any other interpretations of that scene from you guys?
No, I definitely took it as, we could blow it up or we could, smash it or something. We have to do something and that they're going to intervene. So
we saw a young John Dutton do basically the same thing earlier in the season when they ran that front loader or whatever off the ravine, remember?
Exactly.
Yes.
They're just going to sink that thing in the lake.
Yeah, that's what this scene actually reminded me of. That was the closest setup to what we've seen before. But my question about this scene is that much like Beth's plan later on, it's just kicking the can down the road, because if they're just going to mess with the pipeline construction equipment,
it's not really going to stop them.
Yeah, it just halts construction for a little while, but it's not a permanent solution.
Right.
No. And it does escalate. So I don't know what powers the Department of Interior has. I know that they have pretty much all power when it comes to the reservations, such that their police forces and stuff like that are subject to federal police when it comes to cases involving certain crimes like murder and stuff like that, right? So their local cops can't solve their own crimes to an extent. They have to go.
But there's also rules guarding against alcohol being served at casino, like at reservation casinos to Native Americans. I remember there was an episode a couple ones back where Angela Blue Thunder is in the casino bar and Rainwater walks up to her, looks at the drink. She goes, "Don't worry, it's seltzer." Or she says something like that, or "Don't worry, it's club soda. I'm following the rules." And so there's strict guardrails, right? And then the sterilization that resulted in, Beth not being able to have kids for abortions on the reservation. So
yeah. So does this mean like if they did that, would the Interior bring in, I don't know, the National Guard or something to make sure that construction continued, or some other less severe kind of thing? It does seem like it would escalate, but it would take some time for it to do it. So they'd be postponing, like you said, just kicking the can down the road. It's not fixing the
problem.
Right.
It's a season 6 problem.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that Mo was the voice of reason here, going, "This is a war. You're declaring war by doing something like this."
It didn't seem like he thought it was a bad idea, though.
He would do it.
Okay.
He would do it, but he's like, for him to kind of like pause and be like, "This is a declaration of war." And I'm coming back to that Alamo statement that Beth made a while back. Like, this is her Alamo, and it's only until John dies that that's an issue for her, right? So she said this is way back, right? This is her Alamo. And I think last episode, Rainwater said that this is the hill that they die on. So it feels like everybody is cornered and being pushed into the most dangerous positions that they can be in, because like if they're painted into corners and there's no way out except dangerous, illegal, desperate, right? This is where I feel the setup is. Like, I think that's the level of uncertainty we're entering the last episode. Like, everyone's a little desperate.
Yeah. It's uncertain for everyone, every character on the show. Like, nobody knows what's happening next. So that makes humans feel desperate and willing to do things that they probably wouldn't do, right?
They haven't shown much else of the reservation in this half of the
nothing.
season.
Yeah, whatever happened with Angel Blue Thunder. Wait,
right.
We can't mix it up our words today.
I know.
She was like a huge issue there for a while, and then she's just not there. So that was, we haven't seen much happening on the reservation. But
I feel like she's off in the corner somewhere, still twirling her mustache.
She was a lot.
She was.
Yeah, she was a lot.
All right, guys, let's turn our attention to Jamie / the Market Equities Group and everything having to do with the John murder plot. I have said last week that I really like the detective. I still really like the detective. I bet he's fun to have over when he's not at work. But at work, he is a serious man.
Yeah.
He is a very no-nonsense kind of guy.
I do love watching the fallout from Jamie turning into a prick last week with Dillard. And now Dillard is just like no holds barred, storming into the market equities conference room. "Everybody evacuate the building." It's got this like take no prisoners attitude. Really enjoy Dillard's about face.
He tried to do it nice with the state's top lawyer, and then he got the temperature of the room by doing so. And now here he is coming into this company that's probably half staffed with lawyers. So he comes 100% prepared. Do you have a warrant? You bet I do.
Of course I do.
I have a question. Moments before Sarah's death, she had this business card with this penciled in phone number, right? And Paul, you had said that the exchange or the area code had told you that this was Houston, right? I don't remember what happened to the business card. Did it end up in her purse? I'm just wondering.
It seemed like it was in her wallet.
Oh, I was just said it got put into the garbage with the mashed up phone.
Possibly.
Yeah, I'm just throwing a nugget out there because I feel like that's the only piece of tangible evidence that will link Sarah to Grant. And I'm wondering if the investigation somehow leads back to Grant, because Dillard seems like a pit bull. Like, he's going to be an attack dog and leave no stone unturned.
Trash is a funny place for it to wind up, right? Because search warrants, to my knowledge, they aren't necessarily like the movies, right? Where the police come in and just tear up all your shit. In reality, and this show more or less reflects a lot of that reality. is like the search warrants have to be very specific about what they're looking for and kind of where they're looking for it. But trash doesn't. So if he puts out that trash, they can just go through it, right? As far as I know.
100%. Yeah. So that's how, I'm from New York. So last year, the Gilgo Beach serial killer was arrested because they were able to.
Right. You're not just from New York. You're from Long Island.
I'm from Long Island. I am from 2 towns away from where Rex Heuermann lived. But the cops were able to get a search warrant to allow them to remove trash of his, right? So like that was how they gathered evidence, but they had it with a search warrant, so it couldn't be thrown out or inadmissible in court. And they were able to match, his dental records to DNA found on the crime scene from discarded pizza. So yeah, trash is trash is a useful tool in solving some crimes.
Okay.
We haven't seen this show rely too heavily on like quote unquote like police procedural kind of stuff.
You don't say, Paul.
I don't think they follow the standard protocol.
This is as close as we've gotten.
I kind of miss livestock commissioner. I said I kind of miss Steve. Remember Stef from the livestock agency?
Hendon,
yeah, Steve Hendon.
They put the bad guys or not even bad guys, just kind of jerks in the back of the trailer
and drive them around,
right.
Slapping the steering wheel because he's so happy hearing them break their necks. So yeah, police procedures have not been the forte of the last 5.5 seasons.
Yeah. So to get down in the weeds of like search warrants and stuff like that for Jamie's house, I mean, I think what we're saying all makes sense. And if they just wound up with a phone in like a Ziploc bag and then they said we had a search warrant, I think that would cover it.
Yeah. I don't think that,
Yeah.
And I feel like the irony of this would be, from this conversation, the irony of this is if anybody is taken down the right way.
Right.
With the rule of law.
Like
right.
Because this show has been so lawless.
Prisons,
for
things like that.
So long that, and, with the Duttons' history of using the train station to deal with their enemies because it's just easier than allowing them their enemies to get away with murder or whatever they've gotten away with. I just find that it would be a very interesting twist if things go this route.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes me wonder, like, just thinking that through a little bit, like, say they do find that card, right? And yeah, sure, the number's dead, but that was dead for just you and me. They're the cops. Is there some chance that they couldn't, like, I mean, I know that winds up being a dead end on a lot of police shows when they need it to be a dead end.
Yeah.
But realistically, there's got to be a record of who installed and then got rid of that phone number. And if they were sloppy enough not to notice that Casey was a Navy SEAL, then there's a chance they might have, phoned in this fake phone number disconnect also. They might not have been the 100% pros that they sold themselves as.
Well, I was wondering too, like, they're not going to be keeping a paper trail of this conversations between Grant and Sarah.
Probably not.
They didn't sign a contract, right? It
was just verbal.
Yeah. So, sort of on paper, the only thing that really might link them together is phone calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, whatever the payment was.
Exactly. Like, because she was the one that transferred money from somewhere, somehow. So.
And she had to arrange that meeting somehow.
Yes. So she can be linked, I think, to this grant, but this is looking really, really bad for market equities as well. Like, this is a disaster. That made me question just momentarily, do they even continue with this airport project just because of this big old mess? Or do they try to cover their ass and get out and just, oh my God, we don't want to be any part of this but I think it's kind of too late for them at this point with Sarah being murdered. Like, it will be investigated. So
yes,
I think this is a really bad situation for market equities.
One of the things we've been talking about is the governor's desire for Jamie to recuse himself, but they clear up that Jamie has to recuse himself or the governor needs to get a judge to do it for him. He just can't request it.
Right.
And with the advice gotten from Christina this week, it sounds like Jamie's going to do the exact opposite of that. He's going to switch gears and start driving at market equities.
Yeah. Control the narrative.
Yes.
Instead of trying to hope it goes away or be on the defensive.
Or just wait for some other appointee to sort it out from the governor's office. And no, it's not what he's going to do. It sounds like there's going to be like this press conference and he's going to announce what he's going to do. And the governor will then kind of be stuck with him at that point. Because if he's going to come out and be like, I'm here fighting for my father's legacy. We didn't agree on a lot of things, but I'm not going to let his death go,
uninvestigated. Yeah.
Right. So
unavenged.
What is the governor going to do at that point? Be like, well, you're fired, Jamie. No, he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
He's not going to do that.
This is actually very smart on Christina's part to suggest this because she's
much smarter than him. Jeez, Louise.
Oh God, we said that way back that this didn't seem like an equal match because she's very shrewd, and Jamie is frustrating as all get out because he just needs rescuing at every turn. He
needs
a
woman at every point way to tell him what to say and do.
But he's sitting outside her house in the dark. Just like sitting there just waiting to be found and rescued and just like this. He's like a little kitten in a box going,
in a suit. Like, did he go to work that day? Like,
why does he never take his suit off?
Right, exactly.
I don't know. His day didn't start so well if he was napping on the couch and woke up to hearing the news report about himself being, found to be literally in bed with Sarah.
So when he's watching the news and he's like getting upset, he goes, "How did they know?" I immediately went, "Clara!" I just told it, said it out loud because he was like, "How do they know that?"
Actually, I think Caroline had the same instinct. I thought it might have been like a journalistic leap. But I know they're supposed to have sources and all that kind of stuff. But
did they mention the Deerfield Club by name? Is that what?
Yeah,
they mention it
in the news report. Yes, that he was watching.
So I was thinking Beth because she saw them at the Deerfield Club.
I only thought Clara just because she had sort of insider information to all of these conversations about who was where and when, and not necessarily that she saw him there, but that she just knew of it.
But it was the aspect of the Jamie getting something out of the deal part of it. That's when he reacted to the how did you know? And even that response isn't 100% damning because of the way that he says it. How did you know that? Right. You could be asking that incredulously.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't happen. How did you know that? Or he could be like, no, you're totally on to me. How did you know that? Right. It kind of works both ways.
Are possible. Yeah. Both inflections are possible here because, finding out about the affair is one, how do they know that? And then him standing to benefit that's a less how do they know that? I mean, that's right. A little easier to draw that line. But Stef, I like the notion that this was Clara from what you said, because we've been talking about what's going to be her role here. But I feel like Beth also is the one who knew definitively about the sexual relationship.
Well, you guys were onto something with wondering where Christina was. So I think Claire's a decent bet. Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, because some of these things might need to take place off screen.
Yeah.
So Jamie getting all worked up about needing to talk to Christina all happened off screen. Then he just wound up there.
Yeah.
But that's been building for several episodes, probably, knowing that she's smarter than him. Might be able to figure his way out of this.
I guess this is really the only place he could have turned at this point. He had literally no one else.
As she says, she's
only doing this because of our son.
Right. She's an ally, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Not more than that.
But very reluctantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's also now painted into this proverbial corner that we're painting for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So Mo and Rainwater, they have their, area where they're cornered. And now this is his last ally. This is the last person alive who's on his side. Is he going to Jamie his way out of this?
Remember, I offered the idea that he might be able to turn to the Duttons in a way to undo what he'd been doing as a way to save himself, right? Because he's the only one that could.
Right.
And the advice given from Christina is basically to attack the investigations for the murders, go after market equities as the likely source, and Sarah as the one that organized it all, And I think by doing that, you're basically, like you said earlier, Sheila, you're undoing the airport. Or maybe Steph said it, but market equities is going to be so tied up with trying to prove they didn't kill somebody.
Right.
That the idea of other investors and things coming in on making sure that this airport gets built.
That just got lower on the priority list.
Pretty much, I think.
That got pushed to next quarter. Let's table that.
Exactly.
Yeah. But just something just struck me too when we were just having this conversation now about market equities. Ellis used the term again, separation. They want to get separation.
I heard that word too, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, let's just talk about that because it's another distancing from the issues. But again, it's pushing that getting separation is pushing everybody into their respective corners. Mm-hmm. This is becoming very much like a powder keg between market equities and Jamie and now whatever unseen forces are happening to pull these strings.
It's like either Jamie might die just because his sister's so pissed.
That's still on the table.
It's still on the table. Or like he's either going to go to prison for colluding with murder, right?
Also possible.
I feel like he's like, if you survive this, Jamie, just move away, man. Just open a surf shop. Somewhere else, like just give it up, man. Go somewhere else, start over, like disappear. This is not the place for you anymore. It doesn't work for you to be a political official. It doesn't go well for you to be in charge of like making huge decisions for states and estates.
Well, there was a part in the season 5 part 2 teaser where they were just flashing up stuff to make you excited for the half season. And one of those shots was Jamie with a barn in the background, or like the insides of a barn, raising a shotgun.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a second. It was just like 1 second of him raising a shotgun.
Okay, yeah, I think I remember that.
So we've been wondering about the funeral. Is he going to be at the funeral? He doesn't have a barn otherwise.
That's not anymore anyway.
Yeah. We know that they keep a shotgun for horse killing in the barn. Right.
Very close by, yes.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, keep your eye on that.
Oh my goodness.
Interesting.
It might just be that he has it because he wants to go to the funeral, but he doesn't want anyone to fuck with him.
He's like, just let me sit here.
Right.
Right. He doesn't get personal protections, right?
I'm going to be bringing this.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a twist if he takes out Beth. Especially if he finds out that he has her in her phone as fucktard.
That was hilarious.
Beth.
That was like a little bit of comic relief.
That made me laugh.
Needed.
It really did. I was like, oh my gosh.
When I'm taking notes, I have an iPad and I'm typing away. And I'm old now, so I have to wear reading glasses so I can see what I'm doing. But if I wear the reading glasses at the wrong angle, then I can't see what's on the TV. Steph, this isn't a problem that you have.
It's starting to be, I'm telling you.
But it is like, so I just looked up at the right moment without seeing through the glasses onto the TV to see fucktard, and I was like, that is funny.
That's funny.
Good old Beth.
I'm like, I scribble in a notebook, like pen and paper, and I literally scribbled fucktard. It's so funny.
Beth. Because Beth had, I think we'll get there sooner or later, but Beth, like we've been saying, turning human, it wasn't 100% successful, I would say.
Yeah.
But the effort was there.
Yeah.
The grade for effort and the grade for execution might have been different grades, but there was a lot of effort there. That
conversation between Beth and Jamie, this is where like the level of desperation I feel is really ratcheted up for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trying to implore the Dutton name, and she threatens to expose his real name. So I just wanted to ask you if you thought, what could the fallout be from the world now knowing that Jamie is not a Dutton? And what does that do?
Yeah,
does that do
care?
anything to him?
Yeah, his dad was in jail for murder.
Care. Is it really going to be
I don't know. I don't
bombshell?
see why anybody really would care.
Yeah. And John adopted him.
Yeah, we accept adoption as like a thing. It's not, this isn't like Game of Thrones where it's like, well, you're not really part of the deal here, bastard. It's not like that. If you're raised in that house, people pretty well accept you as what you say you are. Yeah. He says he's Jamie Dutton.
Didn't sit as like a big issue. Like, okay,
with so much of his rug being pulled out from under him. I mean, he pulled a lot of it out himself, for sure. But losing his name and being told, we'll tell everybody your daddy's a jailbird might be kind of scary for him because he's got so many other scary things floating around his orbit right now.
And your dad mysteriously disappeared.
There's that,
Yeah,
right?
that.
Oh, right. And I have pictures of you dropping him off.
Where is that guy, by the way?
Right.
But now that's interesting because if Beth surfaces those pictures and it leads to the train station, he does have her kind of over a barrel with that.
Yeah, she doesn't want any of that information to come out. So, I mean, they've had this sort of
Was that
threat
right?
back
She
and
has
forth.
pictures of him?
Yeah, she has a picture
Yeah.
of him at the
Like
train station.
offloading the body.
With
Like
the
she
body.
followed him. But I don't think she knew then. She didn't find out then
She didn't
what
know.
that was.
Okay.
Remember, she didn't know about the train station.
Right. Because I was just putting that together. But because the train station conversation came much later than that.
Yes.
So she didn't know what she didn't know at that point. She just thought,
No.
She thought
She just
had
thought she
him,
had
like,
him.
caught.
oh, man.
Yeah. She was surprised to find out that she didn't know there was a lot more secrets at the bottom of that ravine.
Right.
That's where I'm leading to. Like, does Jamie, does he freaking get away with this?
I mean, mutually assured destruction is a thing.
Yeah.
And he threatens that in that conversation with Beth. That's exactly what he threatens. If you destroy me, I destroy you. I know all the secrets. I know, he talks about knowing John's, Beth's, and Casey's secrets. So he's going to do scorched earth if he's exposed. And now he's got the conversation with Christina behind him to attack those who attack him.
Well, if he changes tack, right, and does all the stuff that Christina tells him to do and doesn't get smart, just does
Just do what you're told.
just does what he's told, right? Then the pressure on the ranch probably lessens quite a bit. I mean, I understand like whoever's coming after them for these taxes is different than the state AG office probably, but still there's all these other things being put in motion, forcing their hand, like the various measures John took to protect the ranch might not be so quickly undone if the AG's not on board to support the governor doing it, the current governor. So he might earn his keep by keeping the state off their back. But if he's not there to do that, then it's too much of a wild card if the governor puts in somebody that'll just do what he wants them to do. I don't know how AGs work. I mean, can a governor just replace him at any time? But I don't know.
Yeah, basically it's a governor appointed position.
Is it?
But like we said, John Dutton was a very popular guy. And if he comes in there as John's avenging angel, then he might be bulletproof.
Harder to get rid of.
Yeah.
But Jamie has another problem because now it's going to come out that he was an accessory after the fact. There's still a crime that he can be charged with.
Well, part of his
strategy is
distancing, getting separation
deny all that.
from Sarah, saying that it was professional. Anytime they ever saw it seen together, it was professional.
Yeah.
And the footage of him and her in flagrante that EMRS has, I think that stays with them.
Oh yeah, that's not.
They don't want. I mean,
that's collateral for them.
Yeah,
right.
They're not gonna.
But Dillard, and I'm telling you that business card and the phone and his trash. I feel like there's going to be something that comes out that is going to connect Jamie to Sarah and his knowledge after the fact. Because he even says to Christina that he knew about it after the fact, and she's like, "Why didn't you arrest her then?" So there's a wrinkle here that he could trip. When you're like walking along, you just trip on nothing. I feel like this is going to be the thing that's going to trip up Jamie. Again, the rule of law and order coming back to nip these people in the bud.
I mean, and Christina said this all boils down to this speech you give. It better be damn convincing.
He's good at speeches.
Yeah, he is. So
Yes,
she
he
says, you've got to nail this, make it epic, and everyone's got to be on your side and believe you, or else this is like determining the course of your life. So
no pressure, Jamie.
No pressure, man.
No pressure to do good.
As podcasters, that's what puts us in such a tough spot. How do we think of this show? Is it ending now or not? Because I don't know that we have solid news either way. We're supposing that it's probably ending because of all the various rumors and the fact that Kevin Costner's not on the show anymore, and the show was kind of about him in the first place.
Yeah.
But it's all, I mean, unless you guys know something that I've overlooked, we don't have solid news either way, that the show is ending or the show is getting season 6.
Yeah, the only thing we have solid is what we saw in the preview. the other week where it said the season finale. That's the only thing.
Ooh, man, do not give us a cliffhanger, man. You've got to give us something here, guys.
Like, I love this show, but I don't know if I'm on board for a season 6.
I know, it's a lot.
With, the dispersal, the fire sale that's happening, I just don't know what's going to be left to watch.
Yeah.
Steph, I remember back when one of the seasons where the Duttons were taken out, right? Like the firefight with Casey, Beth's office was blown up, and John was shot, right? And we hypothesized then, like, that ended the season. Yeah. And we're like, well, this show has to continue with John. Like, there's no show without John. I remember saying that way back when, and we're like, if John dies, like, are we still interested?
Right, yeah.
Now John's dead. Are we still interested?
Well, that feeds exactly into your next question. Because Rip, when he's talking to Lloyd, talks about building the ranch back up.
Yeah.
Right? And are we interested in seeing that process, whatever form that takes, whatever wheeling and dealing Casey tries to make happen, even though now they have nothing. They don't even have like the wagons that they had back in 1883. Everything's been sold. It was kind of sad.
That was
an
really
Easter egg, right? Is that the same wagon from, is it 1883?
Caroline thought it might have been.
I think so. I think it might be more towards 1923. Only because it has like the Yellowstone logo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it definitely looked like a callback to the earlier shows.
I don't feel like we would want to watch Rip and Lloyd and Carter, corral a handful of cows. Like, what are we going to do all day? Watch them feed them? Like, we're good,
Right.
They're going to be maintaining fences. Like, it would just be the infrastructure at this point. I don't need to watch them paint the barn again. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
It was very sweet, the conversation with Lloyd.
No.
But on the other hand, out of all the cowboys that you fired, you kept the 70-year-old.
Yeah.
Come on. What a business model, Paul. You got a 16-year-old, a 60-year-old. And what is Lloyd 60 or 70?
70. Remember, he had his birthday.
Oh, yeah.
They were kidding him, but I think he replied positively that he's 70.
I thought he was 58. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. My memory's fuzzy.
I think that was part of the joke. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Because I'm misremembering it then. But, like, what a business model. You got Rip is like, what, around 45? A 60-year-old and a 16-year-old. Yeah. This is a great business model.
Of a crew.
You've got, all the experience, none of the experience, but the no experience can do the backbreaking stuff. And you got the 45-year-old standing there going, I don't know. This is, I need something to blow up. I got to rip someone's head off.
Well, to your point, though, Steph, say one version of the story is that the reservation basically owns the land now, but somehow there's a relationship maintained with the Duttons where they run the ranch aspect of it.
Right.
Maybe. And somehow it's just a symbiotic relationship with the reservation. And, they're allowed to make a living.
Yeah, live and work on this portion of the land.
Right.
Yeah.
But in cooperation with the reservation, all of the struggles that we've been enjoying seeing so far have been fending off these private situations, the Dan Jenkinses and the Becks and stuff like that. Whereas if they become part of the reservation, they're basically protected federal land, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, a lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of that goes away.
The land grab is gone.
Yeah, it's just not the same.
There's no dramatic tension left because there's nobody left to rob the land from, right?
Right.
There might be other stressors. The idea of building the ranch back up, creating a new herd, et cetera, but shoot.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to see them, protect the cows from.
Yeah, I mean, I miss the days when they still had the helicopter.
Yeah.
I liked those days.
Yeah,
when they were at full strength.
Like early on, we're like, man, we missed the helicopter.
We also had said that's probably evidence of the ranch in decline.
Yeah, they had to sell that.
Very expensive.
It's a little
expensive to maintain, even though they
have a pilot on call.
Right. Yeah.
It's a good thing that there would be something to maintain and rebuild. I don't think we need to see it, right? It's a happy ending that Rip and Lloyd and Carter get to do what they love and stay on the land that's been their home, right, forever. So we're like satisfied with that. I don't think we need to see them being ranchers.
Unless something makes it good, it sounds pretty boring, actually.
Yeah, right? It's just not fun to watch. Isn't that the goal, though? This like nice good, boring life, right? Isn't that what we're all working for?
That's what they want, right? They want to just keep doing what they're doing and have it not be interrupted.
Yeah.
They want to just be dealing with brucellosis and old
and
branded
clover
cowboys
in the field.
Creating mayhem.
So last episode, we had the Colby death that came out of nowhere, and I saw mostly why'd they do that kind of responses.
Same.
I did see a little bit interview results from the director of that episode where she said something to the effect of that they wanted to put in there something about just the dangerous life that they're still leading.
Yeah.
That dangerous things still happen and there are sometimes bad outcomes. Now, personally, I feel like it's weird timing.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel that way. And then it spills over into this episode with needing to take a lot of time with Teeter.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of cameras looking back at her when couples are looking happy.
Yeah.
And she has to look sad.
I did like that one cutaway of her in the barn and the silhouette of her and her grief and she collapses to the floor. I just think there was a very well done way to show how awful this is and how, reminder of how dangerous this is. But I just feel like there's a lot of time being spent on Teeter, and I'm wondering, is there some sort of a setup here? Does she go somehow in this last episode coming up?
I wouldn't think so.
It's just like deepening the Teeter character at this point is like, what?
Very late in the game. Unless this is the plan for the next season to set it up.
I don't want to watch a show about Teeter. I'm sorry.
They got to do something with her accent.
Teeter's part of the group that's being let go, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you're, the comment that we're setting up for more from her, I don't want to see that really.
Jimmy says that they're not hiring at the Sixes.
Yeah.
So,
at least not unmarried men.
Right.
How discriminatory.
I know, that was a weird comment.
Well, it did lend itself to some funny commentary from his wife.
This banter was okay for me because it wasn't talking about how dumb Jimmy is.
I know.
This was okay for me.
No, that was legit funny stuff. She's a very funny person. And I was actually kind of surprised to see them both at the auction but I guess maybe they got leave to go to the Yellowstone's last hurrah.
Say goodbye, yeah. Just as sort of a fan of the show, I loved seeing Walker reunited with
Laramie. I had to look her back up because she was gone. She was
like Instagram love these people. They are the cutest couple in real life, and they just got married, and they looked like a freaking magazine. It was just so gorgeous. And so the fact, in real life, I love them, and I think that they're so cool, and I love his music. And so when she came back on the show, and I was like, yay, they're here. But just as a fan, I thought I liked that scene, but it didn't, as part of them being reunited on the ranch, it was maybe pointing out to how sad Teeter was. But I kind of liked seeing all these little characters that we've lost touch with a little bit just come back just for this auction, which was also really sad to watch. That was just a lot. I was surprised at how much was put into an auction.
Like everything?
Like musicians and
right,
barbecue and bartenders, and that's a lot of production for a ranch that has no money. So I was a little surprised at the scale of it.
But yeah, I think, Beth and Casey had to really do the whole dog and pony show to maintain the legacy of the ranch, right?
I kind of thought it was a good way for the local, other farmers and ranchers and other people that have obviously run into John throughout the years, for them to kind of come say goodbye, right? Like companies he's worked with before or whatever. It was in the world of the Duttons, it was kind of a nice way to have people come sort of pay their respects and not have to have a funeral. So I kind of saw it as that too. It was sort of a little bit of a get together for those people as well. It's kind of a nice way for them to come and say goodbye and then maybe buy a horse.
Yeah, exactly. Buy a horse.
And buy a horse.
But also in episodes past, when the cowboys get together, I think the most recent thing that's coming to mind is when there was branding happening when Summer had to do the branding on the calves and stuff like that. It was made out to be a very large event. It was
like a community,
come together
and kind of thing.
This is a chance for people who maybe don't see each other because they live on the opposite end of the county. That could be several 100,000 square miles because of just the nature of rural America to get to see each other, right? I mean, like I have cousins in New Jersey, which is the next state over, and it is like an effort to get to see them, and it's like 45 miles away. So I can't imagine when you have one or two roads that you would get to see each other very often. So I wasn't surprised that this was a huge big deal, because also Rip even said at one point to Lloyd that he was trying to invite people that meant something to John.
Yeah. It was good to see it like that.
To make it look like that. And then, food is such a huge part of all of these events. And it's not like if they come to an auction, like they have several hundred animals to auction off. It's going to be an all-day event. So it's not like they can run down to...
It was a 2-day event.
Yeah, 2 days, right? People can't just run down to the deli for a sandwich. So they need to be on site the whole time in order to, I think, maximize the opportunity for the auction.
What do we think about that little moment that they took to honor John in the arena, but also with Colby?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't not honor Colby because he just died, but it seemed like it should have been more about John. But it was a good moment, I think, for like a moment of silence and remembrance and honoring. I think that's kind of all you could do with it, though, and that's such a public event,
Yeah.
They're not going to be a viewing.
I recognize the preacher. He's a character actor who's on a lot of different stuff. Never as like a lead. He's always just a recurring character or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was in The Leftovers as a guy who killed dogs.
Interesting.
You have to understand The Leftovers to know why that's okay.
I was like, okay.
But yeah, whenever I see him, I say, that's the dog
the
killer.
guy from the show.
Right. But it took a minute for me to absorb what was actually happening there, because I saw Rip open the gate, and then I saw Casey and Teeter with the horses. It didn't. I guess I just didn't have a frame of reference for what that kind of thing looked like. But then, yes, I understood by the end what was fully happening there, and it did seem, like you said, Steph, a little weird because this is John's place. John was the governor, et cetera, but. Would you have a separate one of these for Colby later that day?
I mean, you couldn't have done, yeah. But like we said, this whole Colby death, it just seemed like in the show plot, like a unnecessary like add-on.
Agree, yeah.
So yeah, you have to address it. Sort of this leading to Teeter being so upset and so sad, and then Beth going to comfort her. I didn't appreciate them going to the bar, and that, I don't know, it just didn't land well for me. Teeter was just not convincing.
Couldn't understand her. The only thing I got out of it was heartburn up to your eyeballs.
I don't know. As far as we liked seeing Beth be Beth sometimes, and we like her harshness, and it's kind of, like she said, it's just fun for her to entice a man to come over so that she can just shoot him down. That, it's a little fun to watch or whatever, but it didn't transfer to me as like how she was helping Teeter.
Right.
It just felt like, okay, now you try. And then she's like, well, that was crap. Well, and I'm like, but what does this have to do with anything?
This is what I like to do for fun, but it's not necessarily maybe what you want to do for fun. Poor Teeter.
It didn't transfer as like a good scene that was actually helpful to Teeter. I don't know. It got awkward and weird.
Yeah. Well, because I think what made me feel that way was that we've seen Beth do a lot of cool things, helping with Colby's death. What do you call it?
Packing up his
stuff. Yeah. Or trying to talk to Teeter, she reaches out to Linnell at that dinner.
Yeah.
She just does all these things that we've been calling the humanizing of Beth, but then she does this season 1, season 2 shit at the bar. And for me, it just read just tired. Tired. Whatever she thought she could get out of that, I'd like to hope that she didn't, because she was just trying to help out Teeter, but I'd like to think that she's past the need to do that. Right. But maybe I'm just fooling myself.
I feel like this was a self-indulgent moment for Beth, right? Allowing her to flex those muscles again. I mean, that was a slick move of rubbing the ice cube, the drink with ice cubes across her nipples. It's like, that's a good move.
Teeter's watching her like, what's happening? But also, I think where it really went wrong is this is the wrong bar. It's a completely wrong place for Teeter. No, she's not going to feel comfortable and confident enough to even do what you're asking her to do. Like,
well, and she only knows confrontation in like the cowboy sense.
Yeah, it just was. I immediately was like, they're in the wrong place for this. Like, Beth could have done that at any other bar and Teeter would have fit in better. Whatever. It just, we didn't need it. Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
It was just for Beth. It was self-indulgent.
Yeah.
Now, that conversation with Linnell, there was a look between the two when they were talking about Linnell and John's early days, sneaking off for teenage shenanigans.
I had no idea.
I had no idea.
Oh, thank you, Stef, because I was going to ask you, did I miss something from way back? Because I know that they had the more recent history, but I didn't know that it went back to, puppy love days.
No, we were never told that or given that insight that they knew each other their whole lives, basically.
And then did you know my mom? And she was like, yeah, I knew your mom. And it was just, I don't know, just this look. Maybe I read it in a way that I wanted to read it, but I wish you were my mom kind of read off of it.
Really?
Well, she hated her mom. Her mom.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I didn't pick up on it.
I'm just reading into it.
I mean, there was also a time where Linnell was coming out. She met Beth or something like that in her mother's bathrobe. And Beth was very upset about that. So I'm wondering if time and reflection have given Beth a little bit more perspective.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, bar with Teeter notwithstanding.
I appreciated that she invited Linnell to the, funeral.
Seeing Linnell get a little choked up was something I wasn't expecting.
I know. Yeah. That was a good scene.
There's a whole portion of this episode where Beth races back to Texas, deals with Travis and that
Speaking
sale.
Of self-indulgent.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of addressed it a little bit up front, or at least I did, with the Travis/Taylor is awesome hit parade. Did you guys want to discuss anything else about those sequences that stood out to you?
I'm just going to say that this episode was written solely by Taylor Sheridan. So whatever went into this episode, he wrote it. So it's intentional.
Yeah.
It's intentionally there. So I'm wondering, is it like self-deprecating? Is he trying to deflect some of the backlash that's floating out there, due to the long delays and things like that?
No, because it doesn't make him look good.
The total shit show that happened between January 2023 and now?
It's sort of... Are you like reading into like his attitude with the Brazilian buyers, right? Oh shit, I'm supposed to be there already. So it's like, oh shit, I'm supposed to make a TV show already.
Oh shit.
Something to that effect. Like, I'm just wondering, is it like, because like I said, he wrote this episode. There was no other credit on this episode.
Yeah.
So everything that's in there, he put it in about, and I don't know how much Travis Wheatley and Taylor Sheridan are, similar in IRL, but in terms of Travis, I know from like different articles that I've seen over the years that he cast himself as Travis because of what Travis does with the horse cutting and things like that. That's, Taylor's got that skill set. Mm-hmm. So, Travis is not there by accident. But I'm just wondering what you guys thought about, just how Beth portrays him to Sadie here. Misogynistic, condescending, all of these things. Like, I can't imagine writing those things about a character that I am playing out there for public consumption without some sort of thought behind it.
He does more than balance it out, though, right? Because he comes through in every case.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the story from Rip about the bar fight is the only time we've ever seen Rip really look happy for an extended period. Explaining this story and why he's cool with Travis and always will be cool with Travis no matter what.
Right. He got his hat back. He got his hat back in a bar fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that sometimes there are people in your life that you're not necessarily like the same type of person, but you've lived enough life together that their intentions or who they are. So it's like, oh yeah, he's crazy, he's this or that, but he's still like my guy that's going to be there for me. Like, so there are people that like maybe you don't hang out with them every day, but you're still friends with them for a valid reason that covers sort of maybe their behavior that's not like you. So I think, maybe he's acting this way or that way. Rip's not okay with it, but in the end, he's really a person that you can rely on that will be there. And so I think that story helped. It helped.
Oh, I love origin stories.
Travis for us. And then the fact that he really did come through for the Yellowstone and show up for free, even though he had to mess with Beth.
I have a question about that whole transaction between
transaction. Okay.
I was choosing that word very carefully. Between Beth and Travis to get him to be at the auction. Again, the desperation, the notion. I feel like old Beth would never have submitted to this kind of treatment. I don't know. Is this her desperation? Is this what do you think happened to Beth in order to entertain this notion of strip poker? I just feel like old Beth would have punched him in the face and been like, just show up, you know?
No, I do. I think that she needs him to show up. And if he's going to be an asshole and make her play strip poker, and then she's like, okay, fine. You know, I do. I totally felt that she was doing that strictly to get what she needed for the ranch, not for her pride, or it wasn't about that.
It's like a mix of the desperation of the moment with the fact that she is, I don't know what the right word is. She is a player. She is in it. She's not going to say, I'm going to play strip poker and then say, no, I'm not going to take my clothes off. She's
not going to not
go
all in.
Yeah.
If she lost the hand, she lost the hand. Yeah,
basically. And she thought she had a good hand.
Yeah.
so yeah.
And 100% Travis is cheating at cards. There's no way you have that many
4 aces.
I was like, come on.
How
many aces are in that deck?
Oh my God.
It's a really big game, Stef. You know, that can happen in a really big game.
Oh yeah.
Says, I have the perfect game. He deals it himself. He wins with a really hard to get hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he seems to only have his shirt off, whereas others have just nothing but a cowboy hat to
cover their
dignity.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a mind to dissect this half season, and there has been a little bit of shade thrown on John, like with the skeezy way that he kept Summer in the house, or at least the way that it was described kind of retroactively, the complete shambles that the ranch has been left in now that he's dead, and that the fact that all the stuff that he did as a character, but with Kevin Costner's face, didn't matter and was poorly thought out and was never going to work anyway. It was highly illegal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So basically if you think of John Dutton, you also are thinking of Kevin Costner at the same time. Yeah. Kevin Costner abandoned the show. So it's interesting in this one episode to have that season of light shade being tossed on John / Kevin. And then this one episode of Taylor / Travis being like, yeah, he's a problem child, but he comes through in the end and you want him on your side.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
That's interesting insight, yeah.
It felt meta to me, anyway.
Now, if we're going to see the funeral of John, maybe that's an opportunity to kind of rehab the reputation of Kevin Costner / John Dutton.
We'll see.
Maybe. I did hypothesize a couple episodes ago. I was wondering, do we see his funeral? Do we need that for closure? Oh, it was when we saw how he died. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to see at least elements of it, especially given the flash of the montage, Paul, that you mentioned where Jamie's at a barn with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize the barn stuff, but it was only a second. It was really literally a few frames of video.
Flash. It probably wasn't even a second. It was probably like, just they're doing those quick flashes. I know the promo that you're talking about. It was like to the drum beat. It was like all these flashes of images. So it could be just very, very quick.
Casey and Monica don't take up a huge chunk of this episode, do they?
Let's see if there's anything
else. But the parts that happened were very
big.
Yeah.
Important, yes. But before we talk about like the really good stuff, I did really like the part where him and Monica were dancing and she discovers he can dance. It's exciting and it's cute, I think, when people have been together for so long, when they find out a little new nugget about their partner. We're the three of us were married a very long time. Like when you find out something new about your partner, for me, it's delightful. Like, how did I not know that? So I thought that was a very human connecting moment that a lot of people can relate to. If
he's been hiding the fact that he can two-step all these years, he's really sandbagging, man. Because as a guy who cannot dance, if I could, I'd break it out all I could. Every chance I got, But I can't, so I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, he doesn't look like he knows that much about dancing.
He looked, but two-step's got this funny rhythm to it. That if you either can kind of internalize it and get it, or you never will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this is something that Casey and Evelyn did in the kitchen. I don't know. I just get this like throwback because he was very young when his mother died. So I just have a vision of this happening. Because even what he said to Monica in the moment, like, we're making memories here, like, while we still can. Like, I feel like there's the behind the scenes motivation for the scene is like he used to do this with his mom.
And you have like Evelyn saying, "Back to your room, stupid cow," talking to Beth.
Yeah, exactly. This is my moment with Casey.
Gosh.
Well, because he's the baby, right? So I feel like, there's things that happen with the youngest child that the older children are like, that
would have never happened.
Please, they never would have done that with me. Or you're lucky you're the younger one. We broke them in well for you.
I am in this, I don't know, maybe I'm looking for a more literal connection between his vision and the decision of choose the ranch or the family. He says it's very clear to him what he needs to do, and that going to Grant last week was part of that. And I am still foggy about what does this equal? What does choosing the ranch or the family equal in terms of what we think that he's going to do and what he's already done with Grant, but we think he's going to make some deal with Rainwater. Okay, so can you guys help me unfog the decision?
I can't help you unfog it yet. That was my question too. Like, is his vision clear to us yet? And I don't think it is. It's coming clearer. Like, I feel like, like when you've got like headlights on the highway and it's foggy out and you can only see yet but so much, and you kind of come over a hill and things come into view. I feel like we're coming up over the hill. Things are starting to come into view, but I'm not 100% sure yet. If he's saying to Monica that we're going to make memories here while we still can, and he tells her that he's trying to walk away his whole life from the ranch, I'm not getting that this is fully laid out yet for us.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to see like what Stef's thoughts were on this, because like Paul and I are still foggy and I wanted to see if you caught anything else.
Well, that makes me hesitant to say that I've figured it all out. I mean, I don't know. But to
Own
me,
it, girl.
it kind of does seem clear in that we saw in a preview, he cuts his hand and makes a blood bond with Rainwater. Okay. So, and this is Monica's, heritage, and he is choosing Monica and Tate over all else. And so to me, it just kind of makes sense. He's going to sell the ranch to Broken Rock for $1 so that they don't have to pay the taxes, or maybe not $1, but you know what I'm saying? And then there's some sort of verbal agreement that him and Monica and Tate can just live and ranch and do whatever it is that they want to do at the East Camp and live happily ever after, right? It just kind of seems like it will all add up and it will all come together if that is the plan. Because I think with Casey sort of asking like, well, if we sell it for this price and you only have to pay taxes on, and so Beth is like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? And even though he hasn't said, I'm going to sell it to Broken Rock, I feel like we have enough pieces to sort of assume that.
Okay. So then the decision is to let the ranch go.
Yeah.
Before his family to still to have their new way or new path, but without the ranch and all that relying on them.
Yeah. Like it's not on him, I think, but he could still be there.
Well, that's somewhat clearer, because there is like that decision where I guess he could either fight for the ranch at the cost of his family, or he could give up the ranch and try to protect his family.
Yeah.
And so intimidating Grant was one part of that. And he was sort of explicit about, my question last week, was he at all trying to cover Jamie? He didn't bring up Jamie.
No.
And it looks like from what he told Dillard, he's cutting Jamie loose.
Yeah.
That he's allowing whatever fallout Jamie's part of, allow him to take those consequences. This is interesting because with the way that the conversation between Casey and Beth went, using her car as the example, so the ranch is still going to be worth whatever it's worth, right? So they do still stand to financially benefit if there's some sort of agreement that can be made. Because the ranch is still going to be worth however much it's worth, whatever the state of Rhode Island's size of a ranch is worth. And then it protects from eminent domain and things like that down the road. This could be the way that they build it back. This is a good conversation to help flesh out some of the possibilities, right?
Yes.
It's just like if Beth doesn't care about actually owning that land.
And I don't think she does.
And if Casey doesn't care about actually owning that land.
I don't think he does.
And they can't pay the taxes, then you could walk away by giving it, quote unquote, giving it away, selling it for a small price.
And they still have.
And they just made however many $1 million on their sales. So split it up, pay what needs to be paid.
Like $45 million between, what did they make, $30 million on the cattle, and Ryan comes back with that $15 million check.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting because when we got introduced to the show 1883, it was teased out during a Yellowstone episode. And we've talked about it, I think, earlier this season. And the Broken Rock tribe, and Paul, you brought this up. I'm hearing you in my head say this. They just wanted access to the land.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was it, right? And it seemed like there could be some sort of agreement, right, reached and whatever else. But how time has changed for Native Americans in that area is less to do about the Duttons and more to do with political dealings in the federal government. But this is an interesting turn of events, because if the Duttons just want access to the land to do what Rip, Lloyd, and Carter are left to do, I feel like that's a reasonable ask.
Right. Or if Casey
as
just wants
reasonable as
access
the first
to...
ask was, right?
Yeah. Well, and that original ask from the original natives was access to visit their ancestors that were buried there. Well,
right. And what's left now with the Duttons.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It is
okay. We're making this
circle.
Wonderful prediction, and next week is going to be like tossed on
We're just going to blow it up.
Right.
We're going to be wrong.
About
what is Jamie doing in that blimp? Like,
what is happening?
I think machine gun.
Right.
That's funny.
And where'd this puppy come from now?
Right. Right. Half the episode is spent choosing a puppy at the pound.
Trying to connect with his son.
Why?
Because we've talked about, like, where's this kid in all this?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think Christina's going to be in the next episode coaching him again? Oh my gosh. I kind of hope not. I feel like this was a really good cameo for her. And just
I think you're right.
Bring her in, help set him straight. I'm only doing this to, but I was almost surprised we saw her, because it's just been so long. And she was just such a force with Jamie, but she's still just so hard on him and just, okay, listen, I'm helping you because we have a kid. Here's what you're going to do. Okay, now leave. I'll see you on your scheduled visitation.
I don't think she's in this for the long haul. I think this was the setup, and she's going to let him.
I just meant in terms of Jamie can't seem to do anything on his own. So if he's got to make this big speech, does he have to run it by her first and all that? Like, can you edit this for me? Like, he can't do it on his own. So
I can't really do it in the mirror. Can I bounce some ideas off of you? Yeah. That's a good point. Because he can't do anything on his own, and he needed her to rescue him this episode. He's got to be rescued every episode, it looks like.
But now that he has that direction, he can write a speech.
Yeah.
And he can deliver a speech.
Yes, he can. But he doesn't have the mental fortitude at this moment, I think, to actually do it himself. I think Christina's going to still have a role here to play next episode. I'm changing.
You're changing your tune?
I am, because you guys have talked me into it. Because I agree. I don't think he's going to be able to manifest the powerful language that he's going to need to deliver the speech of his life without a little bit of help, because his confidence in everything is shattered. We've talked about this, how he's being painted into this corner, and he's not gotten enough distance yet between him and all of the other messy things.
Which all leads me to this place where this next episode feels so unlikely to wrap everything up in a nice little, like, oh, well, that's the show kind of.
And that's the end.
Yeah. I mean, if he makes this speech, right, and Beth sees the speech, and the speech is basically like, I'm using the full weight of my office to pin this whole thing on Sarah, and I had nothing to do with it. Then the go kill Jamie plan might get a pause from Beth.
It's like the only thing that could really put a monkey wrench into her works here.
But then we also, I mean, the funeral has got to play out in whatever shape that takes.
And Linnell now has the bad blood with Jamie. She's now, we confirmed she's a guest at the funeral.
And we have Casey needing to go I need to go check with someone. Well, we know who that someone is. It's Rainwater.
Yeah.
These are the scenes of the next week.
We didn't get the preview. We did not get the preview with our little screeners. So we're doing our best to paint our own preview here.
I think a lot of this stuff can get put in motion, but in terms of like the big swell of the orchestra at the end to be like, dun, 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 it's like not going to end like that. There's got to be some dangling threads, which goes back to our conversation of, is there season 6? Is there this Beth Rip spinoff? Is there something else, some other continuation of the story? Or is it just, wait another year and a half and they'll come out with a half
6
of
more
a season?
episodes.
Right.
That's funny. I can't wait to find out. So excited.
Yeah, I know you
It's gonna be
guys.
a good episode.
You guys just wanted to hit the last couple kind of downhill, right? You didn't want to make too many guesses. You just wanted to see what came, and then we got this episode, which scratched a couple of itches, and then threw in a couple of other things. It was like, oh my God, that took a long time.
Yeah.
Selling horses in Texas.
I need more Dillard. I need more of Detective Dillard this next episode.
I wouldn't mind some of that.
He's got still the livestock video, Dillard still has the livestock agency video to track down and see, who got John's gun. That would be really interesting for me to see.
Yeah.
I feel like that would help button up a couple of things.
That feels like a very necessary piece of scene to get soon. Finding out if it was Clara, that stuff would be somewhat interesting to know.
Before we leave for today, I did have some show notes. One of the Brazilian buyers from the credits, his name is Emerson Paco Miller, and he is actually an on-set photographer for Yellowstone. So his Instagram, guys, is full of pictures from the show, of the actors, the scenery, moments throughout the whole series. So I thought that was a very nice way to bring in somebody who's been very dedicated to the show.
Cool.
Like his Instagram is literally full of just Yellowstone. And then Lloyd also mentions Charlie Ferguson when he's talking to Rip, and he's actually like a renowned chuck wagon chef, and he's been cooking his whole adult life at different ranches across the West and the Midwest.
That's awesome.
And then there's a bunch of cowboys listed in the credits. So there's a bunch of actors listed as themselves.
Yes.
And most of them are. So Charlie Ferguson is one of them. And the others are just renowned cowboys for the most part, doing all the same things that Taylor Sheridan was doing in the show.
Isn't that cool? That'd be fun.
That is cool.
So anytime I see, someone playing themselves in the credits, I'm like, who are you? And Sienna Paglia she's a country singer. She's the one singing the national anthem at the beginning of the auction.
Okay.
Oh, okay, cool.
Haha, that's all my research.
They couldn't get Lainey back?
Yeah. She got a little popular.
Right.
Yeah, she's like the only one left that, Ryan didn't, get to hug his gal on the way back.
Lainey's popularity is exponentially more than when she was on the show.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Love her.
Well, guys, this was a good chat, and I feel better about understanding Casey's vision now. I don't know what to feel about next episode. I feel like we're looking at some cliffhanger action next week.
I think we're gonna have to be left with questions. Like, I don't think everything's gonna be buttoned up, perfectly. So
I feel like they have us like right where they want us. We're uncertain, we're unsettled, and we're just. We're
excited to see what happens next.
I'm excited to see what happens next. I do think that this is going to be a longer episode even than this one because there's just a lot of ground to cover, even just to answer the questions that are going to answer this episode. But I agree with both of you. I don't think it's all going to be buttoned up with all the bows on top and nice and neat. I think we're going to have some loose ends still just to further this season 6, whatever this season finale is versus series finale. It's a huge distinction. So
it is. I really thought we were at a series finale.
I did too.
Mm-hmm.
All of the documentation up until now has been that. Yeah.
Well, before we go, I wanted to thank the listeners. We got some positive results on some websites that track podcast rankings this past week.
Yeah, we did.
And we got all the way up to, I think it was 15th in the TV review category, which placed us just under the guys that do The Sopranos, which are actually guys from The Sopranos.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
And they have a perennially popular, high-ranking show. So for us to surge up that high, I'm really just proud of our little team here, and want to thank the listeners for helping us get there.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. You guys are what make this all so worthwhile. Like, here I am just having a conversation with two of my friends about a show that we love, and you guys listen, and We're on charts in like
We love it.
14 countries.
Thank you. This is Stef.
And this is Paul.
And this is Sheila. We'll see you again next time for the last one.
If you liked our podcast, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to it on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you found it. And please leave us a rating and a review that will help other people find the podcast and get us past those Sopranos in the charts.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. This has been an original Pod Clubhouse production. Pod Clubhouse is a podcast network dedicated to encouraging collaboration among podcasters and friends to bring a fresh voice and diverse perspective on a wide array of content. Please visit and leave a comment for us at podclubhouse.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast feeds on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us at Pod Clubhouse. Our DMs are always open, and we'd love to hear from you.
Pod Clubhouse.